Okay, so welcome everybody to the Team DataFam Tableau User Group meeting number 2, which is always good. We've got a few people here, but this will be recorded as well. This screen is just to tell you what Team DataFam Tug is. It was my idea to sort of build up this tug to say it's more around the presenter rather than the audience. So the tug is scheduled when the presenter is available, so we can actually probably get the best content that's out there. And obviously today's content is awesome as well. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be talking about TC25 because that's coming up in a few weeks' time. If you have any questions, just use the email at the bottom of your screen. Today we have The Journey to Cloud Migration by Katina Sazdovska. I hope I got that right. Close enough. Katina works at ANZ New Zealand and has just led their their migration from Tableau Server to Tableau Cloud. And we'll look at some of her learnings in that process as we go through. So I need to switch back to your presentation here. Over to you. I'll click on the slides as you go through if you like, but please feel free to say next slide, please, if you need to.
Will do. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. So yeah, as Chris mentioned, I will be here to talk about our recent Tableau Cloud migration at ANZ New Zealand. So if you just flick to the next slide, I'm Katina and I am a BI chapter lead at ANZ New Zealand. For those of you who don't know, ANZ New Zealand is one of the New Zealand's largest companies and we've got about 8,000 staff. We've used Tableau at ANZ for a number of years now and we've got about probably over 5,000. Now it's even grown more than that, users across the bank. So quite a large presence. And we've got about 250 now content creators across the bank creating content. So yeah, we work in a bit of a hub and a spoke model. So the BI team is the hub, and then we've got all our business units also can create content on Tableau. Whoever's got a creator license. You can flick to the next slide. So yeah, we were on Tableau Server before our migration, and we had a setup of 5 nodes. But then obviously we were kind of thinking, okay, what's the next step for us? How can we improve the way we're doing things? So we kind of were thinking about moving to the cloud, and these are the 3 main pillars that we thought in terms of benefits, why to move to the cloud. So first one is business benefits. Obviously, very big for us is the integration of data-driven insights into the day-to-day, life of our businesses. So how we can integrate data into things like Teams app. So that was in the Microsoft Teams app. So that was one big kind of goal for us that we wanted to target. Also thinking about the future and AI. Obviously, it's a big buzzword at the moment and everyone gets excited. So I think having that ability around having polls and having the ability to search for natural language to search questions and get metrics on as quickly as, just opening something up and having it there, like that's a big thing that the business really wanted. And that's why we kind of, one of the key things that we wanted to go to the cloud was polls, obviously. Yeah, and again, consistent performance and scalability and instant access to features. That's a really big one for us. Before going to the cloud, our latest upgrade took us a very long time, and we were seven releases behind. So it's a big gap, and it's really for us it's key to have those features ready, have them available as soon as they're ready. In terms of financial benefits, reduction to licensing costs, ability to grow user base. As I said, we do have about 60% of all of ANZ using Tableau, but we want to grow that. We want to make it everyone having Tableau license. So that this gives us the ability. We've got a significant reduction in hardware and infrastructure cost. As I said, we were running on 5 nodes. It's a lot of hardware. We just, before that, we had old servers we had to migrate. So standing up new infrastructure is always not the easiest, if I'm being honest, at ANZ. Then reduction of admin overhead and expense. We had a platform team, admin team looking after, you know, our servers and things like that, it does create a lot of overhead and expense in those terms as well. And then the last one is infrastructure. Obviously, removing the complexity of looking after that the service internally and just moving that to Tableau. That's a big benefit for us, so that we've got ANZ is really big. We've got a lot of platforms, so we are freeing up those to be used for something else. And again, the software updates, I mentioned about getting those latest features available immediately. It's such a big achievement for us. And I think every time there's a new release, you know, users come and say, when is this available? And now we don't have to say that. We know it's available straight away, which is such a key win for us. But I think, and thinking about it, like the biggest thing for me is we spend so much time trying to look after the service, patching, upgrades, all of those things, which prevented us from actually delivering value, from actually, you know, driving those things that the business wants. They want AI, they want cool features, they want, you know, latest and greatest. And instead of focusing on those things, we were focusing after actually looking after the infrastructure. So that's for me was one of the key things that really made a difference. So yeah, if you move to the next slide. Thank you. So thinking about how we did it, I've kind of split it up into 4 stages, and these are kind of the big 4 project stages that we went through. Assessment and compliance. I work at a bank. It's quite there's a lot of compliance, governance, and things that we have to go through before we even start thinking about, you know, the next step. So that was probably the biggest part of the project, assessment and compliance. Then I'll talk a bit about our build and how we went about that. And then I'll talk about the actual migration process, how we actually took everything off the server and moved it onto the cloud. And I'll talk a bit about our go live and post go live support. But as you can see, I've got this blue box around all of them, and there's the communication plan. I think that is one of the key things. If you are thinking of doing this, I think thinking about the communication plan and how you communicate with all your users, it's key. And I'll touch a bit at the end on my communication plan and what were some of the things that I did while we were going through this project. So I'll go through each one of the stages. So if you just click onto the next slide. Yeah, first one up, assessment and compliance. As I said, we had to kind of do a bit of initial discovery to understand what's our current state, what's our future state, understand what are some of the governance and compliance things that we need to go through to get to you know, be able to start delivering this project. So first thing we did was solution design. So working with our architects to kind of understand, okay, this is where we are at, this is where we're trying to go. Can you draw up a solution design and see, you know, what are all the things that we need, you know, everything the solution design has in it. So that took a bit of longer than expected just because of resource constraints, but it's obviously one of the key pieces. Without that solution design, we couldn't move forward. So as that was going on, we also started to work on all of our compliance things that we needed to take off. We've got a range of things that we need to kind of make sure we have take before we go ahead. So we kind of had to do a security and cyber assessment, cloud approval, all sorts of things that we had to engage all of these different teams across the company before we can kind of go ahead. But while we were doing that, one of the things that we did was we worked with our technical account manager to do a deployment review of our current setup. That was really, really useful for us because it kind of gave us an understanding of, okay, this is how we set up currently. This is the traffic, this is the content, you know, very good understanding of our setup so that we can kind of feed those insights into our kind of migration plan, and we know exactly what we need to migrate and what's kind of the traffic, what's our peak times and things like that. So we can take that into account when we're doing the build as well. Off the back of the deployment review, we also started a content review. So looking at our content, what's old. We've had Tableau, as I mentioned, for number of years now. Lots of old stale content, and no one looks at. So we did this big exercise to go through all our content, see what's old, remove, archive, and then just if it hasn't been asked for 3 to 6 months, we kind of started to remove things off it. The DIA kind of gave us a list of things that are not performing that well. So dashboards that are running quite slow, the SQL's not good, or whatever it is. We went and kind of tried to make those more user-friendly and more improve the SQL, improve whatever issues they had, because we knew like we didn't want to do that once we migrated. We wanted everything. It has to be in order before, you know, we did the migration. Also, another thing we did, which is I think very important, is we went through the content and we made sure that all the content owners are correct. People change, people leave. There was a lot of people that, you know, I haven't been at ANZ that long, but I know some of the names and I know they've left like years ago, and they're still content owners. So we did a lot of things to kind of update those owners and make sure we have the correct people to go to and ask questions if something goes wrong, or if something, you know, if we need help with anything or anything like that. So that was, I think that was one of the key things, and I think it was quite important to find the correct owners of the content, just because we are so big. And content, as I said, we give the business units, we federate access, and they can build whatever they like, but it's just managing the kind of making sure that we know who owns content was quite crucial. And then at the end, just before we were kind of ready to start our building and migrating, we worked with, we engaged Tableau Professional Services to create a migration plan. And this was really, really good exercise, because the Tableau Professional Services team came in, took all the metadata from the server and kind of gave us a over 100 pages document that showed, you know, this is all your content, this is what you're currently using, these are your users, these are your groups, everything that's on the server. We had in one document showing and kind of giving us the steps of what we need to do, what are some of the things that we need to consider when migrating. And it was really, really good, because some of those things I still hadn't considered. You know, I didn't know that you have to have all your content owners licensed on the cloud to be able to move content. Otherwise, it ends up in your, or whoever migrates it, it ends up in their name. So there was lots of little things that we kind of picked up and we're like, okay, little things, but in the end, they were kind of big things. So it was really good to have that, and having a good plan, a good strategy of, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And we know exactly the content that we have and everything that needs to happen as we go through it. So then you can flip to the next slide. We move on to the build stage. So for us, this was quite crucial. I just realized I've sent you some of my old slides. My slides were updated. I had some more things on it, but it doesn't matter. I'll just talk about it anyway. So for us, we at ANZ we use on-prem Teradata data warehouse. So before going live, we're obviously connecting from server to our on-prem server, but going to the cloud, obviously from cloud connecting to on-prem database, we needed Tableau Bridge set up. And this is one of the things that kind of, we thought it was going to be easy and we're going to do it really quickly, but it turned out to be a bit of a, you know, challenge at times, but we just thought it was going to be easy. We're just going to have, from the deployment review, we knew we needed about 5 VMs to serve as a bridge because of our traffic. So we thought, oh, it's going to be easy. We're going to set up 5 VMs. We're going to install Bridge on it. It's going to be easy peasy, done, ready to go. We found out that it's not always like that. So we found out that Tableau Bridge does not support authentication, proxy authentication, and we use Zscaler. So that was a bit of a challenge. It took us a while to understand why we couldn't make the connection between, you know, Bridge and Cloud, Tableau Cloud. But then after a while of this investigation and our speak with Tableau, the technical support team, we figured out that actually our proxy requires authentication and Bridge doesn't authenticate. So then we had to kind of go around and do some further things to kind of allow this to happen, which was we had to do a lot of whitelisting on the proxy on our side to let Bridge and Tableau Cloud to allow the communication. But also another thing we had to do was because our security team doesn't like us to be open, and because we are using to use unauthenticated proxy, then it meant that we had to lock down our Tableau Cloud site. So we worked with Tableau to actually block anything except for whitelisting our proxy IP addresses. So at first we thought, oh, is this doable? But luckily it was. So then now our cloud side is very locked down. No one can access it unless you are accessing it through one of our allowed proxy IPs. So that was a bit of a challenge, but we got through it. And then the other things that we had to do, so after we got bridges set up, we had to set up our cloud side. So setting up SSO, that wasn't that hard, that was quite easy. As I said, whitelisting to allow only ANZ proxy IPs. We set up all our users, groups, site settings as recommended by our migration plan that we got from professional services. So that was all kind of ready to go. And the last bit was we decided we were going to do a big bang migration. We were going to migrate everything, all users, all content at once. We did get told that we shouldn't, and we will run into challenges, but we were quite stubborn and we said, no, we think we can do it. And we were going to do it ourselves, so internally. So we got Tableau content migration tool set up, and I kind of went through it to try and understand how it works. I've never had to use cloud migration tool before, or anyone on my team, so it was quite new for us. So we did a bit of training, set up, prepared some of those scripts, so they're ready once we were ready to actually start the migration. Off to the migration stage now. If you flick to the next slide. So migrate. So as I said, we decided that we were going to do a big bang. We are lucky enough in our BI team, I have analysts that work with me, and we kind of allocated 5 people to be solely focused on migrating content for a period of time, because we really wanted to hit those deadlines. So that was really, really good. All those 5 people had content migration tool installed on their laptops, and everyone was just focused on doing this. Content migration tool worked really well for us. We managed to, I would say, probably 95% of the content was migrated using that. Very easy. We did run into a few challenges. Some workbooks were using some older kind of features and things, and then it would crash, but it wasn't too many, so we would just download them and then republish cloud. We realized that we have to do publish data sources first before the workbooks. And one challenge that we came across, if you're using role level security, in our server environment, we were using LAN IDs, which is like a employee number to kind of recognize people, but now we've moved onto the cloud and we're using email IDs. So we had to find all the dashboards that are using role level security and remap those. That was a bit tricky because we do have quite a bit of dashboards that use that. So we did spend a lot of time trying to kind of rectify that. Setting up extracts, that's another kind of manual thing for us that we had to do. And we did have a number of extracts set up, but there's no way around it. You can automatically migrate it. So we had to recreate them on the cloud. But then, yeah, after we had this time frame of getting everything done, but then we realized, because at the same time we loaded all the users, we realized people are starting to get notifications. So we kind of had to stop and go, oh, hold on, we're not live yet. We can't be sending extract failed notifications. So we kind of had to pause the extracts and any other schedules like subscriptions. We started to do subscriptions, and then we realized people started to get the subscription notifications. Like, oh, we can't do this until we actually go live. So yeah, we kind of paused and saved that for like a day or two before going live to set those up. Testing is a really big one. Once you've moved all your content and it's all on the cloud, I think we did a lot of testing. It's probably we spend more time testing than migrating. First round was done by, so my team, the team that did the migration, we kind of allocated some projects to be, specific people had specific project to migrate, and then we kind of shuffle those around so that you're testing someone else's migration to check whether it's working or not. And then whatever issues that we were finding, we were kind of trying to fix as we were going. I kind of didn't mention, but we do have a lot of content. So we had about 1,500 dashboards to migrate. So it's a lot, about 80 projects, I think. And this includes all production and UAT and kind of some sandbox area. So it's quite a lot of content to, migrate and then test. So we went through, we checked, like for like, does it look the same on the server? Does it look the same on the cloud? There was a few little things that we found. As I said, the row level security was one of the bigger ones. We found out that sometimes, because our server was Windows and Tableau Cloud is Unix, I think. It just, the text rendered differently. So the text was being cut off. Sometimes there was a bit fuzzy. The screen size was a bit off, but I think all of that kind of had to be manually adjusted, which was a bit, not fun, but it had to be done. So those were kind of some of the challenges. It was really, really smooth. We didn't encounter anything big. There was a showstopper. Everything was very small and quite, easy to do, really. So once the internal team, so the project teams that were doing the migration, were happy that all content is migrated, everything is working as it should, we kind of passed it on to our business users. So, those 200 plus creators, we picked the content owners and kind of a key contact to say, we've done our bit, we think it's working really well. Can you go ahead and check and give a sign off and say, everything that we've published, everything that's on the cloud, it's looking good. I prepared some test scripts for them to kind of give us back and say, we've checked, all of our dashboards, they're all working as they should. The other thing I didn't mention, but we use embedded credentials, and that was one of the things that we couldn't migrate, unfortunately. We use service accounts to connect to our database. Because our server environment was air-gapped, lockdown, no internet, nothing, we couldn't actually use content migration tool to pass the service account details through. So we actually got our business users, when they were doing their UAT testing, to go in and enter and save their service account details. But I was kind of preparing them for this to kind of be like, hey, this is coming up. We're gonna ask you to help us because we don't know your passwords, we don't know your service accounts. You're the ones that do, so you're gonna be the ones doing it. And then we had a little brownout period when we did this. So we about, I think it was 2 weeks before we went live, we said, maybe it was more than that, 3 weeks, we said to all the content creators, if you're creating any, because we already given them access to the site to test, we said, if you're creating any new content on the server, please replicate it to cloud, or if you're doing any changes, you need to do it in both sites, because we're not gonna re-migrate after you've done any changes. So it worked quite well. I think everyone kind of was quite good to kind of do the changes in both sides and make sure that cloud was ready to go when we were ready to go. So I think in terms of migrating, it was a lot easier than what we thought, and it went really smooth. But we did, again, testing, super key, and test this and then retest. And then it was time for go live. If you just flick over to the slide. Yeah. So go live basically was very smooth. Just sent an email to all of our users saying, well, they were throughout this, I'll talk about the comms plan, but throughout this, everyone was kept in the loop, that everyone knew what was coming out. But it was basically sending an email. We removed all users from the server except for admin users. And just on the login page, we found out that we can put like a little, on the server side, you can put a little comment and a link. It's very small. Sometimes hard to see, but at least it was better than nothing. And it said, we've moved to the cloud link. And then post migration, we offered like for 2 weeks, I still had the full project team sitting there ready to kind of address any issues, any challenges. And we had kind of 5 people earmarked to be supporting, but after a couple of days, we realized there was nothing. We didn't really have many issues, so we kind of dismantled the team. Everyone went to do their normal day-to-day jobs, and we just had one person kind of supporting and helping if there was anything. We did have both environments running parallelly for 6 weeks post go live. So, but only admins had access to the server. So anytime someone said, "Oh, something's not looking right," we could kind of bring up both and kind of compare and say, "Oh, actually, it's the same," or "Oh, yeah, you're right. There's slight issues, so we'll fix it," and things like that. And I think that was quite important to have both of them running, just in case something went wrong. But as I said, we didn't really have any major issues. Yeah, and then we're just back to BAU. We had a big celebration to celebrate the success because it went really, really well. We invited all of our business users that helped with the migration, had some drinks. So I think that was a key part of our project. And we received some really, really, really lovely feedback. People were just surprised how well it went. But from a user perspective, but I don't think they understand how much went in the background, how much testing we did. But yeah, so that was really good to see kind of users appreciating that it went so smoothly. I think my next slide talks a bit about my comms plan. So as I said, it's very, very important. I started talking, so at ANZ, we started these internal Tableau user groups, if you like. We call them Tableau Connect, and we meet every month with our champion group. So those are the people that typically create content. So every month for probably the whole duration of the project, I would have a section where I would talk a bit about the migration that's coming up. This is what we're working through now, but we are thinking of going live, 12 months. 8 months, 7, 6, So it was kind of, they were expecting it. And because they talk to their user groups, they would kind of take that message throughout their communities as well. So I think that was quite important, starting early and kind of talking to people as early as possible. So I kind of split my comms into obviously creators, viewers, because they're different user groups. The creators, obviously, it will impact them a bit more because they're the ones creating the content. We wanted them to test. We wanted them to help with a few things. And then you've got your viewers who don't care. They just click a link and want it to work, right? But the biggest change was the change of URL because we had our server URL. Now we're moving to a completely different URL. So I started to communicate quite early with the viewers, sending emails saying, prepare, we are moving, the URL is going to change, we'll share the URL once it's available and things like that. And again, why are we moving to the cloud? What are the benefits? What are the expectations? What are some of the things that are not going to be available once we move to the cloud? Like people's favorites, your preferences, all of that had to kind of restart, right? So being very clear and what's going to happen. I think that was very, very important. So yeah, I used emails, Teams channels for the community. As I said, the monthly user group. We had our technology team help put like a banner on their site to say Tableau's going to the cloud. If you're having issues, this is what's happened. We had a Tableau Server banner running for the last kind of couple of months before we went live to say we are moving to the cloud. This is the date it's actually going to happen. So yeah, very, very important. I think this was, it's probably even, we did have our date shifted a couple of times, but keeping everyone in the loop, hey, we are delayed by a couple of weeks, and this is why I think it was very important, just to give everyone that confidence that they know what's happening and when it's going to happen. And then the last slide is key takeaways. So yeah, not everything will go as planned, but there's solution. As I said, we had a few things, especially around the bridge, that kind of slowed us down. It was really unexpected. We thought we were ready, but we obviously had to pre-plan and rethink. But yeah, as I said, it took us a bit longer to resolve, but there is a solution, so we resolved it. Migrating to the cloud was much smoother than upgrading on-prem. I say this and I'm being quoted, but we did an upgrade the year before we did the migration to the cloud, and it was a lot more challenging. We were moving from Windows Server 20, old version, to Windows Server 2019, and it was 5 brand new nodes, and it was a lot more difficult. And we had post that we had a lot more issues than what we had post the cloud migration. So yeah, I think it went really smoothly. As I said, users were quite happy. It almost like there wasn't no friction at all there. So it was really, really good. And again, engage users early and make sure they're part of the journey so they understand what's going on. And I've put up each stage kind of some of the things that we thought we're learning. So content cleanup, yes, as I said, make sure all your content is up to date. Remove any old stuff. Owners of the content are correct. It comes really handy when you're communicating. The actual person you're communicating to knows about that content, owns the content, and can give you kind of can tell you whether it's needed, not needed, or help with testing and things like that. Yeah, make sure Bridge works with your environment and your proxies, because for us it was a bit of a challenge. So I would start with that if you need Bridge. And another learning was that whitelisting can be applied on the Tableau Cloud side, which we didn't know whether that could be done, but that's one learning. The great migration, content migration tool doesn't work for everything, so allow extra time for those manual tasks. Again, depends on how many extra subscriptions and things that need to be manually migrated you might have. But yeah, definitely we had as much time we had set up for migrate automated migration via content migration. We had the exact same time for the manual tasks as well. Yeah, set up extra subscriptions alerts at last, because you don't want to start letting your users know that you've got a new cloud site, but no one knows the link and they potentially can't even get to it. Ask your internal community to help out. That's what we did. And yeah, test, as I said, and make sure you celebrate your success, because it was such a big win for us, honestly. And since going live, now we are actually focusing on the value add things. So we are focusing on getting the Teams app working, currently we're doing a proof of concept with Paul. So there's loads of things that the business is really excited about that we can actually do. And just seeing those features every time I open Tableau, I'm like, oh, look, there's a new thing. It's been upgraded. This is amazing. We would have waited probably 6-7 months to get a new feature in. So yeah. I think that's me. Was there any questions?
There is a question. Heather's got a question. Oh, sorry. I'll put up your contact details first. So if you want to connect with Katina, obviously LinkedIn or email is the best two things. And I think the next one is Q&A. So Heather's question is it possible to have fonts installed on Tableau Cloud? Many of their dashboards have a brand font, which we've installed on the on-prem server, and it won't be available on cloud. Did you strike that?
I want to say yes, because we do have our brand font on Cloud at the moment. We create our own templates. So we do have the how we did that. I actually don't know because someone else did that, but I could potentially follow up and get back to you.
Awesome. No, that was good. I didn't know about the whitelisting, so it's always good to see these things and see people have actually gone through that problems before, challenges before.
Yeah, I know. I spent loads of times Googling and trying to find answers and could never find it. It would have been good. It would have been good to know, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
So just before, so obviously I'll come back to you with the fast 5 questions, but just remembering that Tableau conference is on very soon. So we're about 2 weeks away from the start. If you still want to go to San Diego, register now because there's a $300 discount until those times. So it gives us about 2 days or something to start. Heather, I'll just go back for your contact information, either email or LinkedIn. Katina's really easy to find on LinkedIn if you spell her surname correctly. Everyone's got the same problem. It's okay. Or obviously this recording will be available pretty soon as well. Okay, fast 5. So really quick questions with really quick answers. You don't need to think about the answer. They're funny questions. They're not difficult questions at all. Okay, what is your most used feature in Tableau?
Oh, what is the most used feature? That's a hard one. I guess it will depend from business unit to business unit. But can I tell you what I really like? It's the, when you build a dashboard and then there's the optimizer tells you, whether you have issues and things like that. I just love that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Are you team tiled or team float?
I'm float.
And if you were a chart type, which would you be?
Donut.
Donut.
Just because I love donuts. No further reason.
And what new Tableau features should be announced at TC25?
Oh, that's a hard one. Feature. Oh.
Or you can pass. It's okay.
I'll pass. I don't know.
It's just usually someone goes, obviously the obvious answer here is spell check on desktop, but
yes. So excited about that. That's another one that I'm super excited about.
Yeah. It's got to be announced first.
Yeah.
And the last one, should Excel be used as a database?
Oh, I want to say no. No, definitely not. But
so
unfortunately, sometimes there's no way around it.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Any more questions in the chat? I don't think there is. Does anyone want to say anything more? We can open up them. We'll open up the mics in a minute anyway. So the next meeting is Kirk talking about relationship data model, letting Tableau write the SQL for you at those times. All the same time, obviously, it depends on where you are in the world, but on our side of the world, early on April 3, in the US or Europe, at a different time on a different day usually. And you can catch up with all the DataFam stuff on YouTube at youtube.com Team DataFam. There's a podcast on Spotify and Apple, or email me if you need more information. Thank you for attending, everybody. And because there's 2 of you, I'm just going to make everyone a presenter. There you go. And anyone can unmic, sorry. And I've just muted Katina as well.
Well, we're not going in the recording now, are we?
Yeah, you are. I can cut this bit out.